Okay, I tripped. It's all right. This part of the video is called Stop Being Embarrassed and Ashamed of Your Past Financial Mistakes. Everybody trips and falls at some point. It's all about how you recover. Hold your head up. For today's episode of our budgeting series, there's a whole I hate budgeting series going on here. But I'm trying to get you to kind of not hate them. For today's episode, we're going to be creating our first budget. And if it's not your first one, don't worry. This is for beginners and intermediates. And the reason why I'm calling you intermediate is because you've been budgeting for a long time.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Without actually following the budget or sticking to it or being consistent about it or something like that. But if you're a beginner, if you're somebody who's been struggling with creating a spending plan that you actually stick to, did you hear the second part?
Actually stick to.
Stay with it, stay committed, because in today's episode, we are going to create a very simplistic budget. And we're going to use the Freedom Planner for Successful Budgeting as our guide to create the ultimate plan for our freedom. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're ready to start to plan your freedom along with me. And kindly like this video. Even dislikes actually work towards engagement. But do something with this video. Comment, like, subscribe, talk to me in the comments. No pressure. But I'm waiting. Did you subscribe yet? Give them time. It's really not that hard to create a spending plan. All you really need is... After you create your short and long-term financial goals, you want to start with your spending plan, aka your budget. All right, guys, let's begin planning our monthly budget. This area actually is for your fixed income and expenses, but I kind of regret just saying fixed income because many of us have variable and/or fluctuating incomes every month. So what you want to do is take some time and guesstimate what your income is going to be for that month in advance of the month beginning, because we always plan our budget before the month begins. And what you want to do is maybe use your bank statements and/or your tax returns. 12 months of banking statements, tax returns, and things like that can show you what you pretty much make on average. And if you cannot use those things, again, doing a guesstimate based on maybe your sales projections, maybe you're an entrepreneur that you think you will make that month, is also a good idea. Now, if you have a full-time job with a fixed income and you have fixed expenses, this section should be super easy for you to fill in. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is fill out the month. So we're going to pretend that we are in the month of January. And basically you are planning this maybe December 26th, 28th, 29th, just the end of December. You don't want to be planning for your month during the month. So you should not be in January planning January. Then you want to go to your income source. If your income source is a full-time job, you can write your job right there. If you have another income source, like you're a freelancer or maybe a little side hustle, you can also fill that out there. And then if you run out of spaces, you do have a little space beneath there to write something else. Next, you want to fill in your income amount. So let's just say we make $2,500 a month for our full-time job, and then $500 as a freelancer or as our side hustle. So altogether, we're going to have $3,000 to allocate to our expenses for the month. So of course, this page is for our fixed expenses. We'll talk about variable expenses on the next page. So this is stuff that often doesn't change. Like, it can change, but it's really not as flexible like your rent and some other things. It's pretty much the same each and every month, unless you call to adjust or make an adjustment to it, right? Let's go ahead right under bills and expenses. So in our sample budget, we are going to start with what most people have in their budget, which is either rent or a mortgage. Now, again, these are typical fixed expenses that most of you will have. But as we continue with this budget, be sure to make sure you are writing your budget according to your fixed and or variable expenses. Next, we want to put in our due date. You can write the first of the month. You can write the actual date and spell it all out and or just use numeric form. That's up to you. Then you want to put in the amount. So let's say our rent is $1,200 a month, or our mortgage is $1,200 a month. And then we're just going to kind of skip over the paid part because that's something we're going to do throughout the month. And I'll explain that shortly. We're just going to fill out a few more parts so you can get an idea of exactly what this is going to look like. Plus, I want to actually have a few teachable moments when creating and or adjusting your budget. Let's add car insurance, and then let's say car or cable, I should say cable and internet, which is typical. You may have one or the other and or a combination of both, which is why I just put a little slash there. And I'll just put phone, and this could be a cell phone and or a landline for you, and or both. So I'm just going to put phone there. And let's go in, and I forgot to fill in our due dates. Let's say car insurance is due on the 15th of every month. And then our cable and internet bill is due on the 25th. And what you want to do actually, guys, is you want to pay attention to your due dates as well. A lot of times your pay dates do not work well with some of your due dates. You can always go and call your mortgage company and or, kind of finagle with your car insurance, the dates. Maybe too many bills are on one date, like they're all coming out of the first paycheck. So you want to switch them over to your second. And so this is something you can often negotiate, just changing the date with your car insurance, with your rent. Well, not rent. I'm sorry. Most rental places, they want their rent at the beginning of each month. So these are some things to think about and consider, and this is also a teachable moment that I wanted to add in. During that teachable moment, I added in the cost for car insurance, which is going to be $100. And let's say the combination of cable and internet is $150 if you have a high package with Comcast or some other provider. And our cell phone bill is going to be due on the 4th of the month, and it's going to be $75. Because I don't want to make this a long, drawn-out, boring tutorial, we're just going to end it there. We know that you could probably have many more fixed expenses, but we're going to move over to the second page. And if you notice, it says page 1 and then page 2. There's some affirmations in between. This is still a part of your spending plan. Hopefully you caught on to that by now if you started. And then on the second page, you're going to see your variable expenses. You're going to kick off our variable expenses with something quite common called gas. And if you take a bus or if you have toll, you can include that in there. And or again, toll can be included with gas. But if you catch the bus or you use Uber, you can write that separately. All right, so no due date per se with this variable expense. You can put NA, you can put a dash. You want to put the guesstimated amount in. And I know you're thinking like, well, I don't know sometimes how much I'm going to spend. I want you to actually either go over your banking statements again or take a look at a couple of months of receipts, start tracking how much you spend in gas. There's a really cool spending tracker right within this planner that can help you start tracking your expenses or your spending habits. So let's just go ahead. Again, you're trying to start somewhere. So take a guess about how much you spend, maybe daily, and then go weekly, and then you'll be able to figure out your monthly cost of gas/toll. But guys, again, this is just a tutorial, an example, and I'm going to tell you why we're going through so much of this and using these examples, because again, there are so many more teachable moments that I want to have by filling out this form, so that when you're filling out your form, you can kind of sort of work through or process through some of the difficult parts about, just starting to create a budget and manage your money better. Now, typically, and I know personally for me, charity goes at the top of the list, but for some reason, I started without it. But it doesn't matter whether you give to charity every month or here and there, or maybe you go to church, you call it offering, tithes. There's so many different ways to put this category. I just would say put it under charity if you're not sure, or it changes from month to month. And, just again, guess and or if you have a plan, hopefully you have a plan for how much you can afford to give, which would be the smarter way. Put that in. So let's say you have $50 to spare, and then we want to move a little more quickly. Personal care items, lotion, hair, body care, things like that. Maybe they're household but related, but they're not cleaners and things like that. They're just more things that you need, your family needs, your children, your husband, that are related to your personal care items and products. You can combine them with household, or you can separate them like I'm doing right here. And this would be anything you need. It could be combined with your groceries or outside of your groceries, your household products. Again, you decide whether you want to put this in your grocery bill or you want to separate it or you want to put it with personal care. I don't want you guys to get bound to what I'm doing here. These are just an example of some expense categories you can use. You can set up your expense categories however you choose to, okay? And I don't have a pet, but let's say you have a pet, so it may be a little cost that you occur with a pet every month. Food, maybe they have to go to the vet. There are other things, costs associated with pets. So again, I want to move on pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and fill out the other sections. Oh, wait a minute. Let me add one more. Emergency fund. Okay, so this is sort of our savings section. There's actually something at the end that I'm going to show you to really plan out your savings. So hopefully you use that first, but let's just add it into our, because it's part of our expenses. We want to always pay yourself first. So you can put that at the top as well. You can put it anywhere, but I always say make sure you are covered first. So emergency fund is a part of savings, which is paying yourself first. A retirement fund, that may be something you already have adjusted within your paycheck. So it already comes out, or if you want to give some extra to it, you can put that in there. And I'm just going to keep writing a few more things in, and then we're going to fill out how much they're going to cost really quickly and move on. If you don't mind, I want to slow things down really quickly right here and talk about fun money. Fun money and or some money just to kind of spend freely. If you have it within your budget, make sure, guys, you are being a little more strict in the beginning and then letting loose. But putting in some type of money just to spend on yourself or for fun, even beyond like clothing and things like that, will help you stay in your budget and not kind of get a little crazy because you just become too restrictive. So that's something you might want to consider putting in. And it's always good to plan. It feels a little better actually when you plan for your fun money. Guess what happened when you guys weren't looking? Okay, honestly, I forgot to stick to the plan. So I wanted to actually put in a few more fixed expenses, and I did this really quickly because I wanted to add this towards the end and not focus too much on it because it's the outcome that I want to focus on. And there's a reason and a method behind my madness. It's going to really show us why it's so important to have a budget and how important it is to actually adjust your budget even throughout the month sometimes. Now it's time to start wrapping stuff up in regards to your budget in this tutorial. So we want to fill in our total for page 1 of your budgeting sheets. And as you can see, the total for your fixed expenses came to $2,345. Now let's go ahead and add up our variable expenses. And this came to $1,015, okay? So now that we have the, I guess, subtotal, but the total for each of those pages, we can kind of go back to the beginning and begin to see how and where or if we need to adjust our budget. So I'm going to quickly flip back to page 1, and remember our income in total came to $3,000. So that's how much money is coming in. And we need to write that here on the income line, the total income, and then we want to look at all of our expenses, how much money is going out. Now, how much money is going out should always be less than or at least equal to how much is coming in. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again. How much is going out should always be less than or at the very least equal to how much is coming in. This is also too, if you already have your savings written out at this point, you can do equal to, but I would suggest doing less than so that you can make room for your savings or see how much you're able to save. Wow, do you guys see what I'm seeing? Well, it's actually not uncommon. In fact, it's quite common for this to happen. But here's where the lesson and some suggestions along with some strategies begin. Now that I wrote out my budget or this fictitious budget, I can clearly see that I have more money going out on my expenses than coming in through my income. So we have to do something about that. That's about $360 over. Before I get into this first strategy, I would like to suggest maybe if it's your first time filling out your budget, list or jot these things down separately so you're not crossing too much out on here or making this too messy. And then once you know pretty much overall every month what your fixed expenses are, then you can just go in here and mess around and fix things if you're over and under or if you just want to change things as you go along. You need to go in and figure out, where can I cut something back, cut something down, or completely cut something out? Is there a luxury in here? Is there somewhere where a variable where I can save money? You guys know I teach strategic shopping. I teach people strategies on how to save money on their groceries, which also includes house care or household and personal care. So there's places you can cut back. Is it gas? Can you drive less or drive with someone? Maybe you have 2 cars in the household. You guys are spending too much money on gas. Start looking at your receipts. Use the spending plan tracker in here to see where you're spending the most money. Typically, it's going to be on your variables where you can change it. So you want to focus on your variable section and see what you can cut down, cut back, or cut out for a while. Maybe you can bring back the cable. Okay, I don't want you guys to feel so restricted like this is a forever thing, but you need to get your income, again, equal to or below what your expenses equal to or below what your income is. All right, let's pretend you already made those adjustments and your expenses are equal to or below your income. Now it's time to just monitor throughout the month. So once your rent or your mortgage is paid off, you want to check that off so that you know you no longer have that money in your account. It shouldn't be to spend anywhere else, or allocate anywhere else, but you no longer have that money and you're just checking things off. As we're checking things off, there's another tip I want to share with you. I want you to pay attention to the dates. See the dates and pay attention to what money is coming out on which dates, where you can maybe adjust or switch some things around so that you don't have a lump sum of money coming out of one pay period or one area, where there are too many of your higher bills coming out at the same time. But this is a good time for you to go over that and maybe make some phone calls and adjust your bills. All right, so guys, I forgot to tell you I put in personal care, but personal care, household care, you can even write in your pay periods, pay period 1, week 2, pet care. I think maybe this stuff was in the original thing. So I want you guys to just pay attention that there's so many ways to write in here. See how I put the dates? See how I put week 1, pay period? You choose. Now, don't use all of those because it will get confusing. But if you want to use it and write it by weeks or write it by dates, it's up to you. This planner and my method of teaching budgeting is very flexible. That is the conclusion of this tutorial. I hope you both learned something and enjoyed it. If you have financial goals like saving for a down payment on your first home, or maybe you just want to get caught up or ahead on your monthly bills, you need to create a plan to tell your money where to go and when to go there. Essentially, this planner makes it easy for you to set and track all of your financial goals in one place. Plus, this planner has sheets so that you can set and create your financial goals. You're going to see tons of affirmations on each page, monthly budgeting sheets, and spending trackers. Check below to order your planner today.